Hello, I hope all is progressing well. Welcome to I Don't Know, We Can Talk About It, where we discuss myriads of topics civilly, reasonably, and responsibly. My name is Kevin Dufresne. The first topic we're going to discuss today is in relation to reading. How an older student might not necessarily be where one might want to be, where data shows one may need to be ideally in comparison at large with the structures in place. I think in relation to reading with one's interest, one may find greater understanding beyond the grammar parameters that may seem limiting in relation to phonics, for example. Decoding is a big topic in the article, which works wonderfully in relation to reading comprehension, though on many levels of reading. I want to address how I think being able to read can be more meaningful, and how reading can actually be more meaningful to any individual that may feel a need to improve, or at least may have an interest in improving reading, though may not necessarily understand how to go about doing so. The reality is, if in a classroom, every student has to pick a book to read, and a class structure has to develop around that particular book, I think more variety will be set. One, because individuals may have different interests. Two, when one has to pick one's own book, going out to look about the world of books and stories to bring, to implement in a structure that will be relevant to one's growth, to one's progress, then addressing such a situation may likely be different and prove valuable than one may even be aware of, especially if one is not already going out and about looking for books, stories that are not already in a school structure, like a classroom. I find that reading within one's interest brings one closer to the language that one wants to be in connection with, closer to culture that one wants to be in connection with. If a person finds an interest in furniture, then books about furniture may be appealing to the individual, though another may find an interest in furniture, though bookshelves particularly, while another may have an interest in furniture, though love seats personally. And I think when interests become clearer, particulars of reading are easier to assess. I feel as though being particular with reading, assisting with defining, can help with decoding. I like to put a heavy emphasis on the importance of dictionaries. A dictionary can prove extremely valuable, being there are so many varieties of dictionaries. I think finding a dictionary that is suitable for one's needs is best. A collegiate dictionary may be different than a dictionary proving to work across multiple languages. The availability of words, the size of the dictionary, the general form of a dictionary, which may not be for a collegiate, just may be the latest edition for the most general words in a particular area, location, may prove valuable for one in a different light. The definitions available will cater to how one can define the world around oneself, how one may define what one reads. This is where I feel any individual that may be growing older, that has yet to come to find a personal, particular interest in reading, may benefit in finding what is interesting to one, then embracing reading about the topic can be more easily and readily accessible in connection with reading. The mediums available for reading may affect one. Also, the mediums of how one comes about a story may affect one. If an individual finds out that a really interesting movie or show is on the basis of a book, from the understanding that a movie or show is from the basis of a book, an individual may seek to read the book, may seek to find the story in the original medium. As close to the original as one can get, being as the original medium arguably is the storyteller, the story creator. When we're looking at how individuals grow, observing life balances are very necessary. Of course, if one is responsible for a classroom or a program to assist with reading progress, to acknowledge such parameters can be extremely helpful. I think being able to approach reading personally can help one find ways to navigate information that interests personally versus what is seemingly a necessity to, for example, pass a class. Finding pleasure through one's interest helps with finding willingness to continue to search for what is interesting to one, especially within stories, within books. I love physical books. I think reading physical books proves to have so many benefits long term that people really can find value in doing so, even if only for a sentence or two a night or a paragraph. The reality is one must find what interests one. And after one finds what is interesting personally, then I think being able to navigate resources can be easier. Reading to find meaning needs resources that help people understand, that help people define, that help people work with perspectives. That's one reason why I appreciate encyclopedias and dictionaries. Dictionaries especially. Dictionaries offer help with pronunciating words one can work with practicing pronunciating words, enunciating to find one's voice, which is another factor about reading, which becomes more apparent when one has to connect reading with reading aloud, which can affect how one chooses to approach reading books in general. When observing how resources can assist one in finding meaning, one can better be able to comprehend. When reading a text about a particular topic, resources that help one define the words, help one recognize the realm of the words, the environment of the words, resources that help one understand how the environment works are all part of reading comprehension. What really helps with that connectivity comes from interest. The willingness to dig deeper into the environment of a story, of a book, of a context, comes from a willingness deriving from an interest in a pursuit of whatever the goal or goals is/are for the individual reading. I think having resources available in such a way may bolster reading interest. Then the reading levels will proceed to grow as one takes on the parameters of progressing as an effective learner, as an effective reader, as a person with an interest in investing into oneself through a healthy route, through healthy parameters such as reading. Additionally, finding the interest beyond academia can prove very valuable, where an individual finds reading in summer or whenever one has break, or even after work or on a weekend, when one is done school, when a person finds the enjoyment, then more progress happens. What I think is quite interesting, additionally, is that when interest comes into play, one may find an individual reads one story, reads one book with full interest, deeply, very well, participates well, is highly active. Then when another book may not be so into what's happening. When progress from interest connects with reading, the values of growth are so much more apparent and available. And of course, as with all good learning, exponential growth is possible. Our next topic concerns cell phones in school, with a comparison between middle school, high school. We're assessing between these different levels, even thinking of elementary school, even thinking of college. The approach to having cell phones is likely to vary depending on how a school chooses to implement cell phones, depending on how communities engage. Community engagement is so important to really assessing whether one may need a cell phone or not. As one school uses these cell phones adhering to emergency type situations, health situations, and another may be using the cell phones as a measure to protect students to ensure the safety and utmost respect of each other is happening by borrowing the cell phones. Borrow the cell phones or implement the cell phones. How does anyone monitor cell phones? I think being able to be in connection with one's immediate community can be extremely helpful. Additionally, I think many avenues are available to implement how individuals may be able to use a cell phone when in school. The tricky parts of cell phone usage relates more so to when not everyone has a cell phone. Then I think implementation within an educational environment can be somewhat challenging. Similar to an educational environment providing Chromebooks, a popular form of technology in relation to school, though any form of technology like a laptop, I think being able to work in myriad ways is very important. At the same time, I think being able to have individuals access what is necessary is important. If a school is sharing that technology, like a cell phone, is to be in place as a part of the learning, as a part of the progress students are going to be making, then I think schools have to be ready to invest in a very fair regard to ensure that all students, a part of the plan, are in connection with the necessary mediums. And I think the students will benefit from having less devices that give them access to anything on the internet. In college, students, from personal experience, live, respond differently when working from the textbook and working from a laptop. The connection to the physical textbook is so much more beneficial and calming to the individuals than the laptop that is in connection with an earphone, that is in connection with a cell phone, that is in connection with an entirely different set of parameters that are engaging for that individual beyond the textbook. Though when one is in the textbook, one feels better and one is focusing better on the material. This is college. So with that understanding that every community is going to have a different set of parameters, I think the community engagement is very important to recognize with implementation of any kind of device. Rules. Being that cell phones are quite popular, I feel as though cell phones not only need the community engagement, but I think cell phones may be more available responsibly, information-wise especially, to individuals that learn more about how to navigate the resources, which the article mentions. Teaching individuals how to responsibly use the resources can be beneficial long term. The reality is, individuals use cell phones beyond academia. The responsible use is one area that may be helpful to individuals using devices in connection with academic parameters. At the same time, behavior-wise, habit-wise, in terms of spatial development, cognitive development, I think the cell phone connects to so many other areas of personal progress that needs attention as a human being. To progress in a world of so much variance. It's going to be a part of the conversation, like any new technology that is seemingly pervasive to academia, depending on the community. Rules will be set. Additionally, new technology does not supersede benefiting ground research. Meaning, if what is working according to research, according to good practices, efforts through science, if what is working is effective, then that is what is most necessary. And working in connection with parameters of aspects of human progress, variability may come into play for anyone that is in need of learning how to use a particular device or application. I think the learning parameters being available are awesome, if necessary, about particular technologies. Though, if not necessary, then what is the true benefit of having a particular device? I think cell phones give a lot to think about. Though not just cell phones. How an environment of education is choosing to be will likely be informing the incoming individuals, the individuals that want to partake in that educational environment. Though education has a lot of research already set that one may adhere to, even beyond education, psychologists, whether that be of behavioral or otherwise, have research available about how human progresses. And I think cell phones may be useful. At the same time, if it's not necessary, then it's not necessary. A lot of learning, a lot of good learning already happens without a cell phone. Modernity, most of modernity is literally without a cell phone, historically. Not saying that a lot of individuals don't benefit in modernity humanity because of the cell phone, though that humans are very unique, creative, and can learn wonderfully and maneuver wonderfully. All right, time for some origami. So we're going to take this origami piece right here, and it's a rectangle. So we're just going to fold this part, as you can see, across the rectangle. We fold that top short edge across to meet the long edge. Then we're just going to fold the leftover rectangle at the bottom. And then we're going to rip this page. We already have the fold that we're going to need. We need to fold once. And we're going to fold again. Now, you have to pay close attention here. What we're going to do now is, we're going to take this fold, we're going to fold it, so we're going to open it, okay? We'll take this fold, you see how it's opening it up, we're going to just start to make a diamond. What we're going to do next is, we're going to take this fold here, again, we're going to open it up to make a diamond. If you feel like, okay, this is a bit too much to fold, you can fold this flap down here. Fold that flap down to give you an extra fold, then bring it out here, going out like a nose, and just fold it in. Of course, you can get to the diamond base in another way. This is just one way. Okay, we're making an origami camel. The next thing we're going to do is flow into the crane. If you're familiar with the crane design, this will be familiar to you. We're going to take the inside here, just going to fold it in. So as you can see, fold in this side. We're going to fold in the other side. And as you can see, both sides are folded in to the middle. Doesn't have to be perfect. We'll take this triangle top part down and we're just gonna fold it in as well. And from here, we're gonna just flip this up. So we're gonna open it. You see opening it, opening it, opening it, opening it, and we're coming tall. Right here. All right, now this is very important that you have this triangle part folded so you can have that bend here. You have that bend, then you're going to be good. See that nice little bend there? Then you can just fold it in. And make these sides in. And then your form should end up right here. And next, like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to make sure you get the general fold in. Then you do the same to the other side. Okay, so again, we fold in both sides. And we're going to just take the triangle top part again. We're just going to fold it down. And we're going to take this side and we're going to bring it up. Again, once you have that triangle part right here, it makes it a lot easier to get the fold in. Fold in, fold in. Okay. 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 Perfecto. All right. Next, we're going to be working this light, the crane. So our next step is gonna be, well, to open this up. So we're gonna have to fold in here. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. Okay, so we fold in here. Remember again, we take these spots here and we fold in here. Just for the fold mainly. Because we're not gonna want to have the center part blocking our legs for the camel. So we're not just gonna turn up the flaps here and pull them out. We just want the fold so it's easier. We'll go back to the original portion here. So fold it back out. Okay. What we're gonna do though is we're gonna reverse fold it in here. Okay. We're gonna reverse fold it in. Then we're gonna reverse fold in here. Alrighty. Next, we're gonna just give ourselves this portion here. Okay. So then what we're gonna do is we're gonna have our legs here and here, and we're gonna have the back portion. Kind of looks like it up now. Kind of looks like we can just flip it this way. So we kind of flip it this way, and you can have your portion in that regard. But we don't have as you can see, we don't have really much of a hump. So what I've kind of done is I've kind of made somewhat of a llama from this design, which is to be an origami camel. So I'm going to take a little gander at where I can make the progress here. Okay, so yeah, we come in like the crane. Again, we come in like the crane, and well, the thing is we come in like the crane, so don't turn it up and upside down. We come in like the crane. Then we fold up. Now, the trick is when we come to, let's just go back a little bit, to the diamond side here, we actually have to fold in a little. So let's come, we're here, we're here, we're here. So we're gonna have to fold in a little bit. So we have our sides so that we can come in again to, there we go, our crane. So if you come into that general crane position, you'll be pretty much all right. And what we can also do is just take a little gander from here, how it might look if we come in. Don't worry about mixing it up, because you know your positioning here. So you can come in here. So where we come in from this portion, you can also see how it might look if you came up here and folded it in the opposite way. So let's just continue on with our origami can. So what we'll do next is we're gonna take our portion down, we're gonna reverse fold. Okay, so we're gonna reverse fold, and we're gonna bring these down as our legs. In the back, we're gonna have this one portion as our back leg. I'm taking a little gander at the photo, okay, to make sure it's gonna be somewhat like can be from the instructions. And then we're gonna fold in here. And again, you can get into like a little bit of a llama part of the way. And then you can fold in this portion here. So as you can see, we're already in this camel-like position. Another part of this, there's a little bit of a fold in the back that happens here if you want to give your camel a little bit of a hump adjustment. Oh, there you have it. Giving you round-ish edges. It gives a different look. Okay, maybe if you want to just take these out here. And the legs, as you see in the back, you want to match them up. You can. The other part is you can just kind of fold them inside. What I'm doing is folding them inside, making little inside steps. So if you fold them and make a little inside steps, then your camel can have a nice little balance. All right, and so then you have this cute little camel. And if the balance is a little bit uneven, you can fix it and make it so that it has a little bit more balance. Don't feel like it is unfixable. You just gotta work it. Right there. Open the legs a little bit more. Boom. And up front, it just looks different. But also, if you just have it from the side, it looks like looks like I have a little camel gorilla. So there you have it. But this is the camel. Origami camel. With a few adjustments, you might find yourself making some form of a creature. Yeah, here's my camel. All right, our next topic concerns reading a physical book. There are so many benefits to reading a physical book in relation to spatial development. A lot of research is available for spatial development. And the book today is a book by Jennette McCurdy. I'm not really a fan of the title. And I feel as though the text digs into Jennette McCurdy's life. It's her memoir in a way that is to be informative of how a child star grows, what a child star might go through. Being familiar with Nickelodeon, I am familiar with different acting partners from the Nickelodeon realm of more of a different time. Though I do recall seeing Jennette McCurdy, and iCarly is familiar to certain individuals. As a popular show, I think what an acting partner goes through is unique. I think what happens to an individual that may be in the limelight, then thereafter what happens is quite interesting, because entertainers, if one will, are entertaining people. Then one day, what happens? The idea is that entertainers are working in front of a viewer in a capacity. So all of the situations that Jennette McCurdy goes through behind the scenes, literally, are of what others may be going through within that realm, though maybe not sharing to a similar degree, which is fine, to each one's own. It's just quite interesting observing the depth of that story and the realities of that person's experience across industries, and the maturity of that person throughout the experiences I feel as though the text is an interesting read, a different perspective of anyone that has an interest in acting partners or understanding what the industries of acting or music may be like to a degree. Of course, in connection with the author. I feel as though one may find useful information through the text, especially if one is an aspiring entertainer, aspiring acting partner, aspiring musician even. And I feel as though the text is interesting for one that may be trying to understand oneself in relation to moving on from that industry or moving within that particular industry, whatever that industry may be that resonates with one. Especially if one is in a similar situation or similar situations. I think the text is worth deliberating on. The familiar relations, the professional relations, the experiences are worth deliberating. And it may provide me for one to think about self-reflection. Thanks for joining me for another episode of I Don't Know, We Can Talk About It. Onward and Upward, Kevin Dufresne.